Hi everyone, hi again. It's packed, it's cool, it's nice to see you again. We are here to talk about owning the future of education with Open Campus. I'm pleased to welcome Yogi from Open Campus and TinyTap, should I say.
Thank you.
Sébastien Borget, what everyone knows here, CEO and co-founder of the Sandbox, and Moal Sayed from Ledger, head of community. Please.
Hello.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
We are here to talk about the future of education. And when it comes to that, we have to, in 2024, to talk about Open Campus. Yogev, I would like you to introduce us what is Open Campus first.
Yeah, with pleasure. First of all, hi everyone, I'm Yogi. I'm the founder of a company called TinyTap. We'll talk about it in a few seconds. It's one of the world's top 10 apps for children's education. And a year ago, with Animoca Brands, we partnered and launched a new foundation called Open Campus. And I think what's really unique about Open Campus that it's not about TinyTap, it's not about a single app or product, it's about how do you transform an entire category. It's an ecosystem foundation called Open Campus. It has a token called EDU. And the focus is to build utilities for all of us to be able to create and own the future of education. All the educational content and utilities and everything we want to see in the future using blockchain, ownership, transparency, and financial utility. That's Open Campus.
And what brought you to this desire of innovate with this education space in the first place?
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, for a decade now, we've been building TinyTap. And TinyTap allows for, basically TinyTap has been focusing on decentralizing education for a decade by building tools for teachers and publishers like Oxford and Sesame to be able to create their own interactive content without writing code and generate revenue and income outside of schools. So you're not dependent on traditional sources of income, which kind of has the centralization governance of education. They decide what content is created, what makes money, and there's a lot of content that is more niche or very culture-oriented, and a lot of great people, just like yourself, who are not getting into education, not becoming teachers, not educating because the reward is not enough for what you want to receive for your contribution, right? And so we wanted to build tools for teachers, and that's what we did with TinyTap. We've seen over 250,000 educational games on TinyTap today, and we wanted to take that to the next level with Web3, so it's not just the teachers alone, because as all of you here know, building a product is not alone. You need a team with you to help push the product and help guide it. And so Web3 provides exactly that. It provides tools that don't require trust between people to collaborate. And we find that beautiful because it allows for people here in the room who have no idea who creates a specific piece of content that they appreciate, but they can trust the technology that they can partner with him and promote that and be a part of that journey. So,
and why was so important to you to decentralize the education as well? Why is it so important?
What is so important? So I think all of us agree that schools are not fun. They're not how we would want them to be. They haven't changed for centuries, and they're lagging behind any technology adoption. It goes back to radio, to TV, to computers, to iPads. That's what got me excited into building creative tools, the iPad revolution. And now AI. And so I don't want to wait another 10 years for AI to get to schools, where I know it can bring in value right now. And not only AI, I think the creator economy is booming, and that's something that wasn't happening a decade ago. And so with creators and tools that makes it super simple to create educational content, we don't see any reason to wait for a traditional educational system where people here can set the tone and decide what to focus on, other than math and English. It can be financial education, sustainability, any topic that you care about. You have the opportunity to use blockchain to push forward, basically.
And what kind of challenges have you faced? Because I should say that in France, school is sacred, you know, and we wouldn't like to see financial incentives within the school space. So have you faced some skepticism from the teachers or the education around the world, education space?
Yeah, thank you for that. I've been an entrepreneur in education for a decade now. I'm not the only one. And it's a very difficult category. I mean, it's difficult to raise money. It's difficult to scale and sell to schools. It's a very long sales cycle. And you have teachers with great ideas who want to build and create. And so part of the reason why we went and started implementing blockchain technology is to really provide new ways to help them fund their content and new partners to join them. So I think the teachers who are teaching the system and have the backing of the schools are still not being rewarded enough in the traditional educational system. So they do need incentive outside of schools. I do understand that the cultures differs from country to country, of course. And so school is an important establishment. It's here to stay. But the teacher can also monetize their content outside of school, not necessarily selling it to the students that come to the classroom. Of course, that will be something that is much more problematic. But one teacher here who creates an amazing way to teach French to English speakers can suddenly monetize it across the world. So we want to give them the opportunities to do that. And yeah, that's it.
And would you have some metrics to share, like maybe about revenue shared with teachers or content producers with TinyTap and Open Campus?
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So TinyTap already has a revenue share component. So when you create content on TinyTap, you generate a revenue share. The top teachers on TinyTap will generate about 50K a year, some of them, which is very, very significant. When we moved to Web3 and implemented the first utility, which is the publisher NFT, I don't know if you want me to open it right now, but basically we allowed you guys, the community, to jump in and buy ownership rights of content on TinyTap that is already running, already generating revenue, and become a partner. And because of that, we were able to sell the first 12 courses. By now, we've sold 800 of those courses in games, but the first 12 was a very successful sale. We sold it at 250 ETH. Half of that went back to teachers. So you suddenly have teachers who are completely non-Web3, receiving 6 times their annual salary for their content and being able to freeze themselves and create more content. So that revenue share component that's happening right now on TinyTap, on blockchain, it will not be centralized. It's not coming from TinyTap. Instead, we've implemented something that I'm very proud of, and that is an arcade token system, where everyone who comes to get education on TinyTap gets EDU tokens. When they access content, their EDU is deposited into content units, and the owners can just withdraw that. So there's no intermediate. You don't need to ask me how much each content made. All the revenue share can happen on-chain in a transparent way. Unlike what we have today in Web 2, right? If you get a check from YouTube or Spotify, you just get a number. You have no idea what that number means, why it's $100 today and not $500. And we can change that. We can make it completely P2P revenue share systems. And those are the kind of things we're trying to build with the transparency of blockchain.
Now, do you build like other connection, other bridges with Web3 platforms? I'm looking maybe at Seb, and maybe I should have started to say that both of you have known each other for a long time. Maybe you can talk about that, Seb.
Yes, absolutely. It's quite an interesting story, but Yogev and myself, we met back in 2014 in San Francisco. We were both part in his case, TinyTap. In mine, it was a company called Pixel, a mobile game studio that I founded in 2011, of an accelerator called Zynga.org. It was part of like the bigger game publisher Zynga, and the mission of that accelerator was to bring like new startups and new way to learn and to educate. So back then already, when Sandbox was just a mobile game, no blockchain, no tokens involved, we were already thinking how we can use the core feature of Sandbox, which is like creating by the touch of your finger, to educate about topics like science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and art. We worked on the product, but we struggled to distribute it in schools, in academies, university, and so on. And so at the end of the day, even we had some interesting experiment and contact with children, we gave up. And we say, okay, we're going to leave that on the table, and we'll revisit that later. And so fast forward, about 10 years later, when I learned that you will be joining the Animoca Brands group, etc., I said, oh, wow, like this, I'm very excited about that. Let's see what we can do. And at the same time, on Sandbox, this time the blockchain-based version, we started to see a lot of schools, a lot of universities, specifically in Asia, in Hong Kong, in Japan, in Korea, that used the 3D blockchain version with NFTs to teach to kids the possibilities of the creator economy. Like how to create your own NFT, how to make 3D content, how to publish a game on a platform and work on it together. They gain new skills like iterative thinking, creative design, and they also learn new aspects like true digital ownership, the financialization of the asset, the content you create is yours, you have the freedom to sell it, you can earn a revenue from it, and how you're going to utilize that revenue afterwards. And that drives me forward thinking like if it's already happening organically in Asia, if it's growing, and now we have partnership with many more schools around the world, and if there's a platform like OpenEDU that's like has this greater purpose, we need to collaborate even more to achieve what we started, our initial intention from 10 years ago, and try to promote like metaverse adoption, the creator economy, empowering the creators as early as possible to their youngest age, to provide them access to the future jobs, the future opportunities that the Metaverse has to offer for them.
So Metaverse is a platform to educate the new generation, and when it comes to that, I'm looking at Mo this time, head of community of Ledger, and Ledger is not only a security company, like it's also a content company, a content producing company. You produce a lot of content, and a lot of this content is based on education. Can you talk more about that, Mo?
Of course. So most of you probably know Ledger because we create solutions that enable people to secure their digital assets and self-custody their assets. And when you think of self-custody, it's actually self-responsibility. You are the sole responsible of the ownership and the security of your assets. And with responsibility, you know, like in the Spider-Man movie, with great freedom comes great responsibility. That's exactly it. And if we actually don't provide the content that enables people to understand how to best use the tools that we're giving them, we're actually only going halfway. So at Ledger for the past few years, we've really been focusing on building a whole ecosystem of educational tools and content in order to enable this seamless navigation of the world of self-custody. A few years ago, we started with this education platform called Ledger Academy. Today, it actually has over 1 million users and hosts a wide variety of different content formats that speak about the basics of blockchain, self-custody, you know, variety of different crypto projects. And then the further we explored like the world of education, the more we understood that educating people about Web3 technology using only Web2 channels wasn't the most effective way to do it, because education is always secondary when you think about the user journey in the space. Like people come into the space and they really want to jump in right away. They want to create a wallet, they want to interact with different apps, and they only think about education after it's too late most of the time, unfortunately, or after they know someone who got hacked or scammed. So what we've been exploring for the past 2 years is actually bringing Web3 education in the Web3 experience itself. So we built out a gamified education platform called Ledger Quest, and we've been exploring a variety of different, gamified experience, immersive gamified experiences on the Sandbox with, the amazing team that's working there that's helped us craft, a couple of gaming experiences in order to be able to provide different communities with the information they need using the platform that is best effective towards their learning habits.
And does it work? Like how much time people are spending on like your quest?
Yeah, I mean, to speak more maybe about what we did with the Sandbox.
Please.
So that was a pretty interesting like kind of experiment. So speaking about Ledger Academy, as I was talking about it a minute ago, it's actually a platform that has tons of content, but the content isn't necessarily like always streamlined, and it's not always very active in terms of like the experience that you're getting. It's pretty, you're kind of absorbing information, but you're not really interacting. So what we tried to do with the Sandbox is basically to distill the basics of self-custody and security, and to work with game designers and script writers to turn the educational material into a game where you were actually spawned in the middle of a map, and at every mission you were interacting with an NPC, a non-playable character, and that NPC gave you a mission. And throughout that mission you were able to understand a core educational message. And every mission you actually accomplished, you were getting a piece of a ledger armor as an NFT. So throughout the map, you were collecting the ledger armor, and towards the end of the map, you had the full armor, which meant that you were a graduate of the School of Block on the Sandbox. And that is an NFT that acts as a proof of knowledge, but it's also a way to do Web3 CRM. Because now there's a cohort on the blockchain that we know is educated up to a certain level, and that we can interact with this audience further down the road to provide them with benefits, with token-gated rewards. And it's kind of an idea to try to make education more incentive-driven and to try to bring it on-chain. Because if you think about it, like right now, Web3 education is mostly happening off-chain. It's time-consuming and it's incentiveless. So through gamified experiences, when you bring education a little bit more on-chain and you drive the incentive through digital assets, you can really turn a very boring experience into an engaging and interactive one.
Seb, according to you,
Yes.
why Metaverse is a good platform to educate people? How do you explain that?
Well, there's many things that makes like the metaverse and like virtual world in general very interesting for learning. Like, I think it's now proven that learning through experience, learning through like interacting with the content instead of like reading 2D text or watching 2D videos is much more efficient because we mobilize a lot more senses on how we interact, and we aggregate the information in a more personalized way as well. We are not all made similar. We memorize things in different ways and by different senses. So it's quite interesting to use 3D spatial environment and make people manipulate the thing, make them complete the quest, make them build even themselves the game that they play to understand better the concept that they interact with. So I'm all favorable to our like experiential learning, and I think the metaverse is a great platform and a great tool for that purpose. Also, I think that's something that Ledger has done fantastically well with School of Block. Like you were mentioning, like you engage narrator, you build storytelling, story-driven. So you created also a form of meta that drive the people to want to go through all the quests. And I think like 98% of the people who played the experience went totally through it, spending over close to an hour or more into it, which is like, imagine like learning for 1 hour, like now you have to force kids and force people to go through such a length of content to be digestible. The third thing you did and that really enjoyed is also you involve community in deciding the characters and the design of some of the elements of the gameplay. So you made it as well like user-generated content. There was a sense of involvement into the design of the content that drive people afterwards to come and check out what you've built using their inputs and reward them with something that they feel is not just yours, you decided, but it also was the common decision of the community. So those three things have been essential. And well, Ledger and Swipeback, the studios that help you build, you both won an award as a recognition of like all the traffic that you drove and the education you deserve on Sandbox platform.
Just to add something about that, like first, shout out to Swipeback. They've done an incredible job in this experience. And the second thing was maybe related more to the engagement. Like when you think about it, there were more than 300,000 players that actually started this map. And 1/3 of these players ended up becoming graduates. So the level of engagement, and to Seb's point, they spent about an hour playing the game. So if you think about it versus Web2 type of content creation, you're probably maybe getting more views on another type of experience. It's not even guaranteed that you'd get 300,000 views on a YouTube video. But the level of engagement and the effectiveness of the education that you're providing through storytelling and gamification is incredible. And we were talking about this the other day, but kids and people, they learn through play before they can even talk, right? So play is very much the embedded way into our own system through which we learn things.
It's the universal language of humanity.
Yeah.
Playing has always been part of education, actually, yeah.
But we tend to forget that at school, and that's kind of the challenge you're facing. Like the methodologies that are being used by the teachers, they are so outdated versus the tools and technology. That's why like platforms like TinyTap have become so successful in a way.
Yeah, I think it's true for all sorts of active learning. So school is the opposite. School is you're sitting and you're doing a 40-minute panel, you're being really good students, but I don't know if you can do this for 6 hours every day about math and Bible lessons and whatever. It's very tough what those kids are going through. But active learning, if they could play sandbox games every day or do like interactive lessons that speak to them, that challenges them. At our booth, at our Open Campus booth, we've created a never-ending quiz about Web3 questions, where people come and they compete to be the smartest man in Web3. And so we've seen people coming back again and again and again. And so this guy from our booth told me like, yeah, he's like the top of the chart, but he's cheating because he's doing it over and over again, so he knows everything by now. And I just told him like, that's learning. It's okay. He did it over and over again until he learned that. So when you have an incentive, when you want to be the top of the chart, when there's something that rewards you, your status, it's completely different. And I think that's a great segue for one of the utilities we're advancing at Open Campus, which is OCID, Open Campus ID. So there's Ledger Academy, there's Binance Academy, MetaMask has their academy. It seems like we all understand how important it is to educate people on Web3 and off Web3. You're completely right that when we had that discussion a night ago, and we also, outside of Web3, when we got into the banking system, we didn't stop and really learn about the stock market and financial interest. We just wanted to get our first credit card, and later when we saw, we had challenges, we've learned more. So it takes time to jump in and learn. But we had those moments where we did achieve learning, and we never recorded those moments. So OCID is about recording your learning identity journey. So you start with TinyTap maybe, and you learn your first numbers and reading, and then you go to Ledger Academy, and you get that armor, not as a one-time experience, but it's recorded on your Open Campus ID. And it transcends just one project. It's a category card that you own. It's a soulbound card that you own. And what I really like about that if I'm able to kind of brag about what I'm learning, and it can be a Medium post, a YouTube about an LLM, because I'm so cool and learning about AI, I can also see what Sab is into. Like Seb, I can go and see what you're learning and where you're getting your inspiration, and maybe I can be more like you. So it's just like follow someone's investment. You're able to follow someone's learning journey and inspire others, and maybe I can discover that there's something going on at Ledger and go and pick up that course. So OCID is something we're advancing, as well as publishing rights.
And this ID is all on chain, so everything is transparent and interoperable with other protocols and other platforms.
Absolutely, it's all on chain and it's yours. So whenever you do a course at Udemy or you go to school, they have that data.
Okay,
if you want to go for an employer, you need to go and grab those recordings. So I think we're not the first project that talks about like how do you record your learning journey and certifications. We're just trying to do that from a category standpoint and make it about you and see what kind of utilities you have for that. For example, if I can connect to the Sandbox with that, they can learn a few things about how I'm learning, what is my knowledge level. Maybe they can adjust the game to my level, so it's more advanced, more simple.
And this ID, is it an NFT or a soulbound token?
It's a soulbound token.
Okay.
You can claim it at id.opencampusxyd. It's the best way to kind of join us and follow what we're doing at Open Campus and be a part of the community.
Seb, sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, I wanted to plug in that it's really important, like, to also back to the idea of like customizing your learning experience. That's something that our game maker is capable of now. Like, we can detect certain of the NFTs that you hold on your wallet, and then the creator of the experience can change certain areas that become accessible or not, or certain abilities on your avatar that become possible or not. So you can really customize more entirely the whole experience. And it even ties for me to this idea that the learning shouldn't be just playing, consuming, or experiencing. It should be part of building the program. Like the content that you learn, some users learn, they should be able to create it all by themselves at some point with the tools that are available on the platform.
Now it's possible with AI, yeah.
It's possible with AI, it's possible with the creators tool that drive the user-generated content. And we're living in an area where like there's so much democratization and access to the content, to the tools, to the data. Like very often I talk like the future of gaming is UGC, but maybe I should just say like the future of education is UGC as well to some point.
Mo, yeah.
Just to add something, I think like the potential of verifiable credentials and soulbound tokens is very
Huge, yeah.
very untapped when it comes to customer relationship management. And when it comes to, as a company, when you want to craft a certain user journey within your ecosystem, there's a lot that you can do with gamification in order to incentivize people to learn about the key things first in order for them to leverage to the maximum on the solutions that your ecosystem can provide. It's kind of to go back to gaming, when you're trying out a new game, you always get spawned in the map, and then they ask you to do certain actions like press space to jump or go collect this item in order to know how to do the pickup actual functionality and so on and so forth. And I think that in the space, if we actually understand how we can leverage on loyalty, gamification, and education together in order to drive ecosystem usage and adoption, it's really a huge unlock for a lot of the companies and the brands in the space.
You already answered part of my next question, but as the head of community of Ledger, you're with this new generation, every day, you know them pretty well. According to you, because we have limited time, what will it take in the future to help and make education better, according to you?
Yeah, we could spend an hour on this. I'll try to be very brief. I think it's all about understanding the different channels and the different way through which the new generations learn information. If you look today about the usage of social media, it's completely different than 20 years ago. No one's on Facebook anymore. The attention span is very limited.
My mom disagrees.
Sorry?
My mom disagrees.
I mean, I'm sure your mom is pretty young in mind and heart, but the new generations, they definitely don't really have the same time that we used to have, or at least the amount of information that they're getting is so important, and you have it everywhere, that they need to be able to understand the core messaging in a way that is pretty straightforward. But ultimately, I don't think it's only about content consumption in a passive way. I think gamification and gaming environments are going to be taking over a lot of the different ways through which we used to build brands and educate people through social media. Simple to look at Fortnite and Roblox. Are they a game or are they a social media? My nephew goes back home from school and he spends a few hours on Roblox. He's not necessarily playing, he's mainly catching up with his friends. So Roblox is actually a digital environment through which people build digital identities and interact with brands and peers. So yeah, I think gaming is going to be huge. I think exploring different content formats and new social media platforms is also the way to go, and human interaction and connection. So a lot of different avenues, and hopefully you will be able to achieve better education in the future in this space.
I'm sure that you don't disagree, Sébastien.
Well, there's two concepts, and I only have 60 seconds to describe them, but the way I see Sandbox evolving is we're gearing toward, on one side, the build to earn. So basically, Sandbox is very focused here on the creators themselves. And I believe part of playing in Sandbox is just creating, and then being inspired by others, coming back to check, seeing when we update the game maker with new capability, what can I create again? So I love this idea of enabling people to make their own stuff, experiencing it, and gaining new skills, and skills that are not just useful for making games, like iterative thinking, game design, problem solving in space, etc. That's our skills that are needed for the job of the new economy, whether you're going to be in IT, in finance, in architecture, and so on. The second thing that I like to think of Sandbox is it's not play to earn at the end of the day, it's play to learn. And nobody is saying it's about learn, but what you gain is not just the financial asset or the digital asset that have a financial value, like token or NFTs. It's the skill that your work, your effort has been retributed, and you gain something invaluable that is knowledge.
We're running out of time, so one last word, Yogev, please.
Yeah, I think I'm really relating to everything that is said here, especially Seb, what you said about the future of learning being UGC. I think the future of everything is UGC. I mean, we've seen that in streaming for sure. I don't know if you've seen, but YouTube is now the most streamed broadcasting platform in the world, more than Netflix, more than Apple TV, more than anything, it's YouTube. In gaming, we're seeing the same with Roblox, etc., Sandbox. And learning shouldn't be any different, especially with AI. AI presents opportunities for people to create content in just leaves it to their creativity and their own needs. So we're building that. I love build to earn. It makes so much sense, and this is what we're about. So let's build.
Mo, Seb, Yogi, it was great to have you. It was even better to have you. Thank you, NFT Paris. Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.